Hola, ¿qué tal? Buenas tardes. ¿Me escuchan todos? Ok, perdón por el retraso, tuve unas dificultades técnicas, pero ya estamos listos. Voy a comenzar con la grabación. Eh, yo soy Fernando Calvillo, director de Relaciones Comunitarias para Oklahoma Visual Arts Coalition. OVAC es una organización estatal sin fines de lucro que apoya a los artistas visuales de Oklahoma con recursos económicos, talleres, exhibiciones y actividades que promueven la conexión entre artistas y proyectos. Y la intención de este ciclo de clases fue fomentar la colaboración y el intercambio de ideas, así como aprender más acerca de la cultura mexicana. Y pues con esta clase cerramos el webinar. Solo quiero agradecer a Oscar, a Fernando, a Solange, a Mónica, a Jorge y Narciso por sus aportaciones y por compartir sus conocimientos. Esperemos que este esfuerzo trascienda y se convierta en algo más grande. Y pues también dar las gracias a quienes asistieron semana con semana, a quienes ven nuestros videos en YouTube. Y pues no sé si tú quieras comentar, si quieras comentar algo, mi querido Oscar.
Hola, buenas tardes a todos y a todas. También de igual forma, muy agradecido por el espacio. En nombre de todos mis compañeros y compañeras, pues estamos muy contentos, de haber compartido con ustedes, pues en algunos de ellos, una investigación académica de mucho tiempo, de mucho trabajo. Y pues sobre todo, pues estamos en la manera de seguir trabajando con ustedes y pues agradecerles. Muchas gracias y pues seguimos aquí en contacto y ahora pues viene la delicia de conocer a Narciso y escucharle, que es lo que nos interesa el día de hoy. Y pues cualquier cosa, estoy a la orden. Muchas gracias y felicidades y excelente experiencia y oportunidad.
Muchas gracias. El día de hoy tenemos la clase Historia del Arte Chicano impartida por el maestro Narciso Argüelles. Narciso es un artista chicano y educador de arte. Creció en Tijuana, México, lo cual tuvo un impacto duradero en su vida y continúa influyendo en su obra artística. Durante sus años universitarios, él comenzó a colaborar con el reconocido Taller de Arte Fronterizo. Tiene una maestría en Bellas Artes de la Universidad de California. Sus viajes incluyeron una estancia de 3 años como profesor en el Robert College de Estambul, Turquía. Su labor educativa también incluye trabajo con el College Board en su programa de arte y diseño. Como artista expuesto en la Bienal de Sydney, Australia, la Bienal de Johannesburgo en Sudáfrica, Los Ángeles Contemporary Exhibitions, Oklahoma Contemporary Art Center y la Galería Intar Multicultural Art Gallery en Nueva York. Como curador, Narciso ha organizado exposiciones para el Norman Firehouse Art Center, la Galería UCO Boathouse y Little D en Oklahoma City y en el Robert College de Estambul. Welcome, Narciso. I don't know if you're teaching the class in English or Spanish, whatever you feel comfortable with. We're down for it.
Muchas gracias. Voy a intentar hablar en español y en inglés. Hi, everybody. I'm going to try to teach this in English and in Spanish. A ver cómo se va, okay? I have a couple of students here from the university that I teach in currently. They only speak English, so I'm going to try to probably do mostly in English and algunas partes en español, a few parts in Spanish. Uh, a ver cómo se sale, ¿ok? Voy a poner, I'm going to share la pantalla here. Let's see if it works. Okay. ¿Sí puede ver este PowerPoint? A ver.
Sí, sí se puede ver, solamente si puedes ponerle sí, exactamente,
¿Así?
slideshow. Yeah,
Okay, okay,
perfect.
okay. Okay. The title of this lecture is Con Safos, Arte Chicano. And Fernando did a good job at introducing me. Aquí está el foto que uso para catfish a la gente. This is a few years ago. This is the photo I use to catfish people with online. I'm the professor and department chair at Oklahoma Panhandle State University. This is in the Panhandle of the state of Oklahoma. Soy un artista, independent curator. I also work for the College Board. Y soy el chair del Latino Community del Norman Firehouse Art Center. A ver cómo se sale aquí. Vamos a empezar con un term, Chicano. Oftentimes when I do a lecture like this, I go through it and I ask, do you have any questions? And almost always the first question is, what is a Chicano? ¿Qué es un Chicano? Y I'm going to key off of este libro. No sé si lo pueden ver. I don't know if you guys can see it. Es una catalog que se llama Cara. It's an art catalog for an exhibit called Cara, Chicano Art, Resistance, and Affirmation. Es una catalog, un libro de una exhibición que salió en 1985. It's a catalog that came out in 1985 for the exhibit called Chicano Art, Resistance, and Affirmation. So you see me reference this book back and forth when we go through definitions. So I wanted to define our terms so we know what we're talking about. Chicano, term of self-designation for a politicized individual of Mexican descent in the United States. It came to prominence in the mid-1960s through the beginning of the Chicano civil rights movement. The definition continues. Because this term linguistically reflects the indigenous pre-Columbian roots of Chicano culture, it was effective in promoting unity among the movement's constituency, who proudly asserted their ethnic heritage. The term also has been applied specifically for persons active in the ongoing Chicano movement. And it's important to note that there's other definitions there. I have this other book that I was keying off of. It's an older book, The Chicanos, A History of Mexican Americans. I don't know if you guys can see it. I'm holding it up. So Chicano is just a truncated term from Mexicano, which is the indigenous pronunciation for Mexicano. Mexicano. You just take the ME off of it. Y tienen Chicano. We get Chicano from the term Mexican. Y obra, El Mestizo, this artwork here, El Mestizo, 1974. It's in the Smithsonian American Art Museum, and I really like this piece because it talks about the indigenous side, the Spanish side, and the mixture or el mestizaje, the third entity. So that's why you see the three faced head here for a symbol of the Chicano people. And mestizo head, tripartite head that represents the Mexican identity as a mixture of two originally opposing cultures of Spain and the peoples indigenous to Mexico. For Chicanos, this image also represents their extended mestizaje or cultural mixture. I'm going to try not to read the slides because that's a big no-no in teaching art. Aquí está una más cerca. Lo pueden ver los tres caras del mestizo, el lado indígena, el lado de España y el tercero, que es cuál es el mestizaje, the mixture, if you will. Okay, language. This term mestizo has fallen out of favor in the last, I would say, 10 years maybe. As we all know that the longer we live, the more language becomes problematic for whatever reason. We're going to cover some of this later on as far as language, but I like the term because it helps describe often the two worlds that we live in. La gente chicana, los dos mundos que vivimos, y también el mestizaje. I like the term. But as I said, it can be problematic. I'm going to show you this clip. I'm hoping we don't get any YouTube commercials, but I have the link. Y Fernando, si puedes mandar este PowerPoint a toda la gente, si tienen los emails, y lo pueden usar ese PowerPoint como le quieras, como quieras. You guys can use this PowerPoint any way you like. I'm going to try to get Fernando to email you the actual PowerPoint, not just the video of the lecture, but the PowerPoint, so you can use it for your classes. Lo puedes usar. And this is a very famous clip. Let's hope it works. And I don't know what the audio is. If it's way too loud, please tell me. I'm going to see how this goes, okay?
Narciso, I can't hear it. Can you hear it?
I wonder if it's the way I'm sharing it. I wonder. I mean, I hear it just fine. If that makes a difference. Fernando, I think we had this issue a couple weeks ago. Do you
Yeah,
remember with
so
some
we can share or we can include the links in the YouTube description so everybody can click and look it. I don't know if it's due to copyrights or, stuff like that, but yeah, that'll work out.
Okay. What I'll do is I'll just move on, and you guys can watch these clips later. That clip has Edward James Olmos. It's a very famous scene from Selena, where he talks about how difficult it is being Mexican American because you're not fully accepted in the American culture because you don't speak English very well, and you're not fully accepted in the Mexican culture because you don't speak Spanish very well. In the scene, Edward James Olmos says, you have to be twice as Mexican as any Mexican and twice as American as every American. And you have to do it both at the same time to be accepted. And in the scene, he says it's exhausting. So it's a very famous scene. Hopefully, you guys have seen it, but you guys can look at this scene later. This person, Edward James Olmos, is also in this play and movie that was produced by Luis Valdez. And this is a nice segue. Empieza el movimiento de arte chicano. This is where the Chicano art movement started. It was in the mid 60s, and it started with these plays put on by el Campesino, Teatro Campesino. These are improvised theater performances in the fields of the Salinas Valley um, to support the strikes of farm workers. Sometimes it would be fundraisers, sometimes they would be doing plays in the fields where the people worked. Well, Luis Valdez, who started that group, also became a famous film director. He wrote a play called Zoot and later became a film. And you might recognize the other film that he directed, dos películas de Luis Valdez, Zoot y La Bamba. Very important in the for the Chicano people to see them represented in these films. And if you've not seen, a lot of people have seen La Bamba, but if you haven't seen Zoot, is an amazing film and play. And unfortunately, you won't be able to hear it, but I have a clip here of El Teatro Campesino y un clip de Edward James Olmos as the Zoot Suiter in the play. Now, these are YouTube links. Esos son de YouTube. Pero estas son diferentes. These two clips are different. They're from the Internet Archive. And there's a nice section here about the play, a TV clip, and there's a clip of the Teatro Campesino doing plays. So you guys can watch this later. Sorry that the audio visual doesn't work, but you can Google this. You can see the titles, and I encourage you guys to do that. Oops. Okay, empezando a las artes plásticas. So this is where we see the Teatro where the Chicano art movements are, but eventually went to painting, sculpture, las artes plásticos. So here is perhaps the first Chicano mural ever. It's part of a two-panel mural, and we see some iconography here that is that you would see in a lot of Chicano art in the beginning, and even today we see this imagery. And tenemos La Guerrera, Pancho Villa, Emiliano Zapata. We have Cesar Chavez with the UFW flag, United Farm Workers, fighting for the farm workers, and also the referencing where the Chicano civil rights movement got its origin from inspiration from the Black civil rights movement. And we see these repeated themes, and we're going to see them here. La tema de revolución. So the theme of revolution, tierra o muerte. This is a silk screen. This is again, and we'll see these links. I try to have links to everything that you guys can read more about. This is again the Smithsonian. You can read more about it. But we see these themes, and we also have the theme of the farm worker, the UFW eagle. When esta bandera de UFW salió, it was controversial. This flag was controversial because it looked like, I'm not going to say the names of the two other countries that it reminded people of, because I don't want to get canceled, or if this goes on online or social media, sometimes these words get the videos pulled down. But you can imagine what countries these reminded people of, and it was controversial. Pero esta obra, Viva la Raza, con el bandera de UFW, el águila del UFW. The theme of the farm worker, el tema del campesino, always recurring. Chicanos, one of the things that Chicanos do is they're politicized, as we covered in the beginning. Los Chicanos son políticos, they're activists. They fight for people who sometimes don't have a voice. Chicanos might be first or second generation Mexican Americans. Los papás, maybe they were farm workers. My dad picked cotton in the American Southwest before he settled in Los Angeles. My mom was domestic. She was a maid for many years, and then she met my dad in Los Angeles. But we fight for people. Oftentimes the people without the ability to have a voice. So literally and figuratively. La tema del campesino, the farm worker. One of the things that Cesar Chavez fought for was for better conditions for the workers. The pesticides that were being used on these cosechas, these things that they picked, the pesticides would like harm the worker. And you can see the reference of this piece, sun mad raisins instead of sun made. La calavera, symbol of death. Again, this is Smithsonian Art, American Art Museum. You can read more about it. Another artist, Mel Casas, with his references of the farm worker and this recurring theme. And this all comes from those early artworks that we saw, where the beginning of Chicano art, you see other themes. We talked about the revolutionary, also otros temas, como Zapata. The symbolism is obvious, revolution. Y ese es el símbolo de ayudar el farm worker. Esta obra, Tribute to Chicano Working Class, 1979. We see the same recurring themes, but it's hard to see, but we see the revolutionary here. I don't know if you can see my cursor. It's on the left-hand side, and also Aztec warrior in this referencing of workers. So connecting historical imagery is also another thing that that Chicano artists do. We all know the big three: Diego Rivera, Orozco, Siqueiros, the big three muralists in Mexico, and Chicanos borrowing from that tradition and the style of painting. Sabemos los artistas de Rivera, Orozco, Siqueiros, y los artistas chicanos también quieren usar los imágenes como esos muralistas. And now we start seeing other themes, the indigenous peoples. Here we have both the United Farm Workers and their boycott of grapes in this poster, and using this pre-Columbian figure. Again, tying history, recognizing the indigenous side, de nuestra cultura, our identity. Javier Viramontes, boycott grapes, support the United Farm Workers Union. If I'm going too fast, guys, please let me know. I get really excited when I teach, and sometimes I speak really fast. Es un problema con los mexicanos que hablamos rápido. Dígame si estoy hablando bastante rápido. Yo quiero, I'm very excited, so I tend to speak fast. So here we have another, the recurring theme of indigenous peoples. And this is a very famous poster by Yolanda Lopez. I remember seeing this when I was in college in the 1980s. It was a pretty close to this origin of 1981. I started college in 1988, which is probably the first time I saw this image. And the reference to immigration. Who's the illegal alien pilgrim? Talking about the people that came from Europe into the Americas. So the implication is obvious. One of the things that Chicanos do is reference this idea of immigrants, because a lot of immigrants work as farm workers, but their parents, grandparents, how did they come to the U.S.? Sometimes the border crossed families in half. Sometimes people searching for a better life. La gente que vienen de México y otras partes de las Américas vienen a los Estados Unidos para agarrar trabajo, and we get blamed. The immigrants get blamed for a lot of things, but we embody the so-called American dream. Come here, work hard, and provide for your family. The term, I'm going to define another term from the Cara catalog. Otra palabra, la palabra Aztlán. A Nahuatl term used by the Aztecs. Una palabra indígena que usan los aztecas as the name of their original homeland. Some scholars believe to be located in what is now the American Southwest. In the early phase of the Chicano Civil Rights Movement, Aztlán was the name used for the new Chicano nation that would emerge as an outcome of the movement. And I think a lot of people took this literally, and I'm sure it was literal for a lot of people. But I always saw it as a metaphor of us reclaiming our land in the American Southwest. Todo era indígena. Everything belonged to the indigenous people. We're just claiming it back. The land that was stolen, we're stealing it back, either metaphorically or literally, as some people back in the 60s and 70s wanted to do. Aquí está la mapa de Aztlán, California, Arizona, ahí está Texas. ¿Y qué está aquí? El Panhandle de Oklahoma. What do we have here? The Panhandle of Oklahoma. So part of Aztlán, believe it or not, in some maps includes California, Arizona, New Mexico, Colorado, Texas, and Oklahoma, the Panhandle part. Look it up sometime. You see that the Panhandle part, people say, was part of Aztlan, the origin of the Aztec people. Que no? Oh, let's go back. We see the theme. Oops. We see the themes. Ahí está la gente indígena, la gente de España. Aquí está la cabeza con los tres frentes. Here we have the three faced head, the mestizo. We have the UFW eagle. We have the indigenous, the Spanish. We have all those themes that we've talked about. And we're still just getting from the 70s to the 80s as far as Chicano art. And just to let you know, there's so much information and so much history and so amazing artists that there's no way we can cover it all. Hay tanta historia del Chicano, el arte Chicano, no podemos poner todo en este PowerPoint. I urge you to do some research. If you see any artists that you really like, aquí está Raimundo, Patlan. These murals are in Chicago, in Casa Aztlan. We see the mariposa, the monarch butterfly, symbol of immigration. This is in Chicago, the house of Aztlan, la Casa de Aztlan. Ahora, los grupos Chicano, the collaborative groups that in the late 70s and 80s, these groups, esos grupos salieron en los 70s y los 80s. The collaborative nature, because the movement always had organizers. I think the offshoot of collaborative art groups was just almost a given that it was going to happen. And we have a nice link here for Smart History. If you don't know Smart History, there's a lot of lectures there by Stephen and Beth. I think they're married, those two scholars. They visit this art and they talk about different art pieces around the world. Y este grupo, the Royal Chicano Air Force, started by Jose Montoya, the famous Jose Montoya. So here we have a poster, strike, to support the farm workers, huelga, strike. Otro grupo, asco. This is the Spanish word for nausea or disgust. And los artistas, Harry Gamboa, Gronk, Patsy Valdez, which we're going to see later. Y I highlighted este señor, Daniel J. Martinez. Ese era mi profesor at UC Irvine. Some of the people in this PowerPoint I know personally. Daniel J. Martinez was my professor at UC Irvine. He was a member of OSCO, a very influential collaborative group. They had to do mostly with aesthetics. And here's a performance piece. Now, the photos very quickly done, and then they would leave before the cops showed up. And they called them no movie. No sé si tiene la palabra que se le llamaba esos fotos. Se llamaban sin película or no película. It was like these movies without the movie part. They were just one photo. And Gamboa was the photographer that took these pictures. I wish I could have included more of his photography, but there are just some things I couldn't fit into all this. There's some very beautiful photos of cholos and lowriders that I did not put a lot of in this PowerPoint. But I find that culture very beautiful. The subculture, the Chicano movement, el Pachuco, el Cholo. When I first moved to the U.S., crecí en Tijuana. When I first moved to the U.S., el símbolo de belleza era la chola. The symbol of beauty for me became the chola when I first moved. I was like 9 years old. I had never seen lowriders before. And I saw these people in their cars, and I was in love. What a beautiful introduction to Chicanismo, you know? The other collaborative art group, Border Art Workshop, el taller de arte fronterizo. Esa exhibición, ESL, Lengua Trabada, ESL Tongue Tied, was an exhibit by Border Art Workshop referencing the ESL um, program in the United States. And this group, believe it or not, I was a member of this group. This exhibit in 1984 was an exhibit that we put together right when we got back from the Sydney Biennale. We moved out there. We were there for 4 months. We did a residency. We moved out there in 92, October, creo, octubre de 92. And we were there for 4 months. We came back sometime in 93. We put on this exhibit in 94. Las Comadres. This is an all feminist female group, similar to the Border Art Workshop. In fact, we would cross paths with each other at different exhibits. I urge you to read this article that Ruth Wellen wrote in her website. She was one of the members. It's a very intriguing read about how they got together and how they broke up. These groups break up. Border Art Workshop effectively stopped in 1996. Even though different members took it over, and I think it still exists. OSCO disbanded in 87, around the same time, 87. This group, I think just everybody passed away, but at the time of 1985, it was still an active group. Los artistas, el señor que empezó el taller de arte fronterizo, David Avalos, is one of the founding members of Border Art Workshop. He passed away this year. Very influential artist for my life personally. He was doing his MFA in UC San Diego, en la escuela UC San Diego. El señor estaba tomando clases para el master's. Yo estaba tomando clases para mi bachelor's. We both met each other at UC San Diego. Now, this is a model of a donkey cart. And if you don't know what a donkey cart is in Tijuana, they're like these fake donkey carts with a real like donkey that's painted like a zebra, una zebra. You can sit on it and pose with it. They take pictures. And he built this life size, but this is the model. 1985, San Diego, es un donkey cart, pero es un agente de ICE, Border Patrol agent, y un señor that he is searching here. So it's a donkey cart for Tijuana and San Diego. But I met him in 88. And he was the one who invited me to join the Border Art Workshop. Guillermo Gomez Peña, probably the most famous Chicano artist. Now, el señor Guillermo Gomez Peña nació en Mexico. I remember the definition, Mexican-American, politicized Mexican-American. Pero él usa la palabra Chicano. He uses the term Chicano to describe himself, and I'm not going to be the policeman for identity. But Guillermo Gomez Peña, very famous. He won the MacArthur Genius Award. This year, 1992, was the year that I met him in Sydney. We were both doing an exhibit in Sydney. I was with the Border Art Workshop. He was there with Coco Fusco, this lady here, and this performance piece, 2 Amerindians on display. They faked this idea that they were newly discovered people, and they were being toured in this cage across the planet as undiscovered people or newly discovered people. And people believed it. People thought this was a real thing. But people would pose for it. Y tengo un video aquí. I don't know if you guys can hear it, but I would just play a little bit of it. I don't know if you guys will be able to hear it. So he's a performance artist, es un artista que es casi como un actor. And I'm glad this piece had the subtitles because it's really like alien. When I mean by alien, by space alien kind of voice. Y creo que tengo otro. Oh, okay. El artista Narciso Argüelles. Sí, sí soy un artista también, un artista chicano. I'm an artist too. Y ya he visto un poco de las obras del taller de arte fronterizo. You saw a little bit of my work with the Border Art Workshop. It was a collaborative group. Sometimes I call myself a multidisciplinary artist. And this is a performance piece. This was my master's thesis at UC Irvine, 1998. Um, the name of the performance is Ilegal. But it's a pun. Es una chiste en español. Ilegal. And it sounds like it's saying illegal when you pronounce it. I think you guys get it. Now, this is like a 10-minute, I'm not going to play the whole thing, but I'll describe it once we see it. And I'm going to purposely not put the audio, even though might not be able to hear it anyway. I'll describe what's happening here. So, at the time, the university asked us to donate an art piece for an auction. And there was some controversy about what they asked us to do and how they were asking us to do it. So being a little activist, I decided to donate myself as the auction, as a work of art. I was essentially making the connection that people are bought and sold. People are that are undocumented are essentially slaves to the American economy, and these themes exist even today. We all know the political climate that we live in today, and it's amazing that those issues from when I was a kid in the 1980s is still raging, even harder than ever. Anyway, let's continue playing. So this lady bought me at the auction, and I did this performance at her house where I was installed in her living room, and I was there for 2 days. And there's the title, Ilegal. In Spanish, translated into English, it means and legal, A-N-D, legal, and legal. So it's just a funny pun where I'm saying I'm legal, but it sounds like it says illegal. So here I am being installed. And I'm gonna go on here a little bit. At the time, oops. That's okay. The performance was, people started actually, I can go back so you can see what I mean. There's the installation. There's the lady who bought me. And she unveils me. This is the people that came to the opening, the unveiling. And people started physically interacting with me like I was an object. And I don't want to get, there was a way for me to escape. It looked like I was bolted to the ground, but there was a way for me to escape. So people were like manipulating me, and people were touching me in inappropriate areas. And somebody put a lit candle in my hand. You see the flag. They're posing me like some sort of a patriotic symbol. maybe the Statue of Liberty. They started painting on the pedestal. And here is my the actor I hired to put me away for the evening. So the party continued. People were drunk. You see how much people did to me. And this is Pat Ward Williams, but let's move on for sake of time. And this is a short trailer for a film I did. It's a short film. It's maybe 7 minutes long. But the name of the film was called Imaginary Spaces. La película se llamaba Espacios Imaginary, que no existe. These spaces that we create to survive. And I was playing around with this idea of indigenous cultures in Oklahoma and identity. Now, I don't know if you guys can hear it, but this is just a trailer. So the film was filmed at the time, the unfinished Native American Museum. It had been 10 years. They were trying to get this museum built, and it was just a shell. The outside existed. There was no events inside. It was like a warehouse. So I thought, why don't we do our part of our film inside this unfinished museum? It's finished now. They changed the name of the museum. It's now called First Americans Museum, and it's one of the leading Native American museums in the United States. But at the time, it was a symbol of just what it was a perfect metaphor of how the United States treats Native Americans. They promise you something, but you can't quite get it. So the museum took 10 years to build, but we had to get special permission from the government, who had control of it, the state government at the time, to film inside because it was hazardous to film inside. And you can see the you can see it in the background here. It looks like a warehouse. We brought violin players, Native American drummers, Native American dancers, and ballet dancers to film inside this shell. The beginning of is J.B. Williams, who's a hip hop artist, walking through this coffee shop. And at the time of the filming of this, it was the beginning of Black Lives Matter. And I wanted to talk about how we just want to live. We can't even just go to live our daily lives like go to a coffee shop without being harassed. But ahí está mi arte. I am working on new things. If you are interested, you can always contact me. Fernando has my contact information if you want to know about the current work that I'm working on. Y el señor Jose Montoya, probably the godfather of Chicano art, the grandfather, godfather, whatever you want to say. I met him in the late 80s, early 90s, actually like around 1991, 1992. Great gentleman. As I said, he started the Royal Chicano Air Force. Empezó el grupo Royal Chicano Air Force y dibujó pachucos, cholos, cholas. That's what he did. He drew pachucos. And you can see Jose Montoya's pachuco, a historical update. What an amazing man. Um, Richard Montoya, el hijo de José Montoya, empezó este grupo que se llamaba Culture Clash. The son of Jose Montoya, Richard Montoya, was part of this group called Culture Clash, which was a comedy troupe. Y, believe it or not, they had a TV show. I believe it was on Fox. It was like In Living Color, but Chicanos. And I have a clip of it here. And there's clips of it on YouTube, and you guys can watch it. But you just Google Culture Clash. I don't know if you guys can hear it, but essentially what the skit is about is the American Gladiators, but it's people crossing the border and fighting people to get into the U.S. And that's very much the humor, uh, el, el, the comedia, the comedy, the humor is very important to Mexican and Chicano people. Sometimes we have to laugh because some things are so horrific or sad that we have to make a joke. And this is one of those jokes. You can see a clip of here people trying to cross the border. I mean, the show only aired in Los Angeles, if you can believe it or not. Uh, el TV show que se llamaba Culture Clash, solamente you only see it in Los Angeles. And I was at my mom's house in San Diego, and her TV could get LA channels just sometimes, and I could watch this TV show. You couldn't even see it in San Diego. You had to only see it in Los Angeles. So, isn't that amazing? Like, it happened right around the time of In Living Color, same company, Fox. But they give you a show, but you can only see it in Los Angeles. Anyway, that's Culture Clash. The tema, we have to talk about el palabra rascuachil or rascuachismo. We have to talk about this word for Chicano aesthetics, rascuachismo. It is a sensibility that is not elevated and serious, but playful and elemental. It finds delight and refinement in what many consider banal and projects and alternative aesthetic, a sort of good taste of bad taste. And they have examples here velvet paintings, calaveras de Posada, and the movie Born in East LA. These are just examples. It's an aesthetic. And I'll show you another example here. La Virgen de Guadalupe in a bathtub, an altar in a backyard in Texas, a statue of the Virgen de Guadalupe encased in a bathtub that has been turned on its end. It has rocks, it has Christmas lights. This is a good example of what rascuachil or rascuachismo means. It's kind of kitschy. I guess maybe Americans would use the word kitschy. Also makeshift. All growing up in Tijuana, I think we all have examples of this in our. Tenemos ejemplos de rascuachil todo en partes de México, que no? You can see examples of this, and it's just makeshift. You can make an altar. Oh, this can be turned into an altar para la Virgen, and that kind of inventiveness, tongue-in-cheek, I think is one of the most beautiful things of the Mexican and people, and Chicano aesthetics took that on. In fact, when I learned about this in college, I go, well, I've been doing this for years. I've been making little things all my life out of odds and ends of trash, like at the house. And this is art. This is arte. Um, so a lot of my early work had that kind of unpolished, rough look on purpose to kind of reference an anti mainstream Anglo aesthetic, a kind of desensitized, kind of antiseptic approach to art. That's not what I wanted to do. Ahora la gente chicana, ahora, el año 2000 hasta el presente. Here's some Chicano artists. Now, they may not use the term Chicana to identify themselves. I try to do my best to find artists that was doing work at the border and doing issues of identity, but they may not call themselves Chicano. And I'll talk about this at the end. Esta gente, no sé si usan la palabra Chicano, but they do, hacen arte sobre la frontera y cosas de identity. They do artwork about identity and the border. They might not call themselves Chicano. We'll talk about this more. You notice that the title of this website says Latinx, and we're going to talk about that here in a second. Y esta artista, Tanya Aguinilla, I hope I'm pronouncing that name right, metabolizing the border. So it looks like, did you see la frontera aquí? You see the border, and it looks like some sort of performance piece. Patrick Martinez. I included him because I used to work at Art Center. You see where he got his bachelor's from Art Center College of Design in Pasadena in 2005. I worked at Art Center 1999 and 2000. So I got to see a lot of amazing artists. I did not meet Patrick, but these are cakes. I should have put the information on this. Martinez cake paintings. Y aquí está la bandera de Estados Unidos en un pastel. Pueden leer sobre esos artistas y esas obras. I forgot to put the titles of these, but you can. I have the article at the end of the presentation of all these. They're all in the same article. So es los artistas Latinx. Está todos en una website. Lo pueden mirar. Tengo el link at the end de la presentación. Michael Menchaca. So, referencing Mesoamerican codices. Se pueden ver los códex de los aztecas. So the work that you're going to see is very interesting. It's postmodernism. You don't see the rascuachil. You do see some of it here, but you don't see that kind of handmade quality. This feels more polished for the postmodern world, the years 2000. También ese artista Jaime Muñoz que usa imágenes de aquí está una cabeza Olmec. Here we have an Olmec head referencing indigenous images of Mexico. You see one here where he's taking one of those Toyota trucks, and you see the Aztec calendar aquí. So the work is fascinating for me. I'm really happy to see people referencing iconography de los aztecas, los Olmec, y también trabajadores, workers, but mixing it, doing this kind of postmodern remix con imágenes de secas, or this remix of with uh, uh, imagery and icons in the Chicano community. Sandy Rodriguez, raised in the border between California and Mexico, based in Los Angeles, went to Cal Arts. I just like the way she describes herself as raised on the border, because that's how I used to have my artist bio, raised on both sides of the U.S.-Mexican border, Tijuana and San Diego. That's how I would. Maybe I should bring that back, since it looks like it's acceptable again. Esta es una pintura de la nopal cactus. Y Patsy Valdez, we saw her earlier, part of ASCO, the Chicana feminist from the 80s, y todavía está haciendo arte. Esa señora feminista que estaba en el grupo ASCO. Y aquí está el link. This is grande esta. That's why I put it at the end. See the link? All these artists that we've talked about, all these artists are in this link right here if you guys want to research it. Okay? And vamos a hablar sobre Chicanx y Latinx. The term Latinx or Latinx art is used to describe works created by artists of Latin American birth or descent who live in the United States. And replacing the masculine O or feminine A with an X so as to be gender neutral and inclusive. I remember when this change happened. I don't remember the year, but I remember sitting at some restaurant with my cell phone, maybe it was my computer, and it was I was going through. It was probably Facebook, and people were posting at the Mecha conference about this big argument. There was two groups. They wanted to change the name of Mecha because it was racist, it was gendered, it was anti-indigenous. And Mecha, el movimiento estudiantil Chicano, right? You guys know Mecha. So it was all because of this O and this A. That was the big fight. So I just started laughing because we all know, right? The CH is an X. So it's actually Xicanx, Chicanx. So that's a lot of X's. Now I don't mean to make fun, but a lot of Chicanos have fought against these terms because they feel like it was anglicized. That this kind of mainstream culture have trying to take over a historical group like Los Chicanos. But I don't use it. I don't use these terms. I use Chicano. I like those terms. It's probably because I grew up in the 80s. It was important to me. And I think a lot of times these terms now, Chicanx and Latinx, are going away now, I think. There's a lot of artists that I did not cover. A lot of imagery we could have gone over. I'm going to be wrapping up the lecture here in a few minutes. So we're going to do a question and answer period. Vamos a tomar preguntas en un momento. I wanted to close out with the title of this presentation. You probably remember the title of this lecture was Con Zafos, Arte Chicano. So I love this term. You see it in Mexican murals, graffiti. We have examples down here. Placas or these tags around all over Los Angeles, Texas. But I see it a lot in the. It kind of went away in the 2000s, but I think it's coming back. Con safo, sometimes it's just the C and the S painted on a tag or a mural. Literally translates to with safety. It is not a traditional Mexican symbol, but one unique to the Chicano movement. It signals that a name is protected, a sign that means whatever you think or say about me, you get back double. It's kind of like a curse. You put it on your piece, and if people tag over it or criticize you, it's also like a warning, like don't touch it. It's protected. Con safos. I just love that phrase. Uh, I'm working on an exhibit, in case you guys are wondering, and this is the title of the exhibit. A way to kind of bookend my career, so to speak, Chicano art, uh, referencing those roots, those aesthetics that I saw back in the early 80s of Chicanos and Cholos, lowriders, those aesthetics, bringing it back in this large installation. Um, Not sure when that exhibit will happen. I'm doing a lot of duties here at the university, Oklahoma Panhandle State University, in Oklahoma. Ese es el fin. A ver si podemos.
Ok, muchas gracias, Narciso, por tu presentación. Vamos a abrir cámaras y micrófonos para quien quiera o tenga preguntas. Yo quisiera empezar con una pregunta. A lo largo de tu presentación, y discúlpame o corrígeme si estoy en lo incorrecto, pero parece que el arte chicano, sobre todo el de los ochentas y noventas, tuvo mucho más fuerza el performance y ahora va mucho más alineado a las visual arts o las artes visuales. ¿Es algo que tú
Sí.
estás viendo que está sucediendo o hay artistas de performance que son chicanos también en la actualidad? Bueno, me imagino que obviamente debe haberlos, pero creo yo que anteriormente tenían mucha fuerza, mucha representación.
Those people, esa gente que usan performance-based art, si me pueden oír.
Sí, sí, te escuchas.
Ok. Uh, Esa gente como Guillermo Gómez Peña y ese señor, no sé qué, otro nombre, Torres. Those performance artists like Guillermo Gómez Peña and other people like Coco Fusco, they're still making artwork. They're very much going strong. And in some ways, it was hard to find the the new school, the year 2000s, that was doing performance. Maybe it was because of COVID, post-COVID, but I think you're right. I think not so much film, no tanto película o performance, más pinturas y prints, cosas así. No sé por qué es eso, pero I think you're right.
Ok, gracias. ¿Alguien más que tenga preguntas para Narciso?
I see some of my students. I don't know if they can hear me, but if you have any questions for me, I would love to answer them. I see my friend Connie zoomed in.
Yeah.
And some of my students, Blaze and Paige and Dakota. Feel free to ask any questions. This is the time. This is el tiempo para echar preguntas.
Tenemos una pregunta de Oscar de Zacatecas.
Ok.
Bueno, más que una pregunta es también como un comentario porque me doy cuenta, o bueno, obviamente lo poquito que yo he sabido sobre el arte chicano, que esto es lo que me llamó mucho la atención en tu presentación, mostrar la lucha social, la lucha de los
Mhm.
derechos de los campesinos, todo este tema pues que identitario, ¿no? Que muestra sobre todo el arte. Y pues felicitarte, al contrario, muchas felicidades, aprendimos bastante y pues enhorabuena. Excelente tu trabajo, gracias.
Muchas gracias, muchas gracias. I'm honored. When Ovak me preguntó para hacer plática, I was honored para representar los artistas chicanos. Um, it, I think it helped me, maybe something I lost, algo que no tenía, something I lost through the years. This idea of activismo, revolution, uh, uh, activism, y ayudando a la gente campesino. It brought back those times. Y, we live in a strange world now. Um, um, I don't know what to say about the things that have been happening even this week. Uh, uh, Only to say, tenemos que, we need to love more. Necesitamos amar a la gente más. Si son, if you guys believe in something spiritual, como Dios, algo así, I think it's time we just go back to loving one another y hacer arte bella. Creo que unos comentarios en el chat, Fernando.
Yes, so anyone, any questions? Let me see. Let me read the comments in the chat. So you're saying my internet is failing. Congratulations, dear Narciso. It was beautiful to listen to all of this information. And then Blaze said, what do you think Chicano art will look like in the future? Like you said, with
Mm,
everything going in the world?
mm. That's an amazing question. Thank you, Blaze. Ese es mi estudiante aquí en el OPSU. It's one of my students from Oklahoma Panhandle State. What a great question. Hmm. I could see it becoming more digital, more interactive, immersive. Como no sé si saben las instalaciones de Meow Wolf, interactive installations. It could be something like that. Um, but I almost think that it might be better to go back to the roots, that kind of la squatchy, where you can see the hand of the artist, um, and less polished, the squatchy kind of aesthetic. Um, I know just researching for this lecture brought me back to, man, I used to make that stuff. And dumpster diving, getting art pieces, doing graffiti, being breaking the law, punk rock, todo eso in the 80s. I miss that. I miss that guy. I miss that guy. So maybe the future is the past. Maybe.
You know what is interesting that you mentioned the more interactive spaces or art manifestations because I remember Alejandro González Iñárritu and Chivo Lubezki, they're both Oscar winners. They did something that it's called Carne y Arena, which is it was an immersive VR experience, and I mean they're not Chicano artists, they're filmmakers, but they created this experience where you immerse yourself and in a situation or where you could experiment a similar situation where someone crossing the desert might have. And so many people said it was super powerful and it was really really, really like moving and touching experience. Like so many people cried after experiencing it because it's almost like
Mm,
in real time.
mm.
So it's and again, it was just interesting listening to you and thinking and listening how, you know, back in the again, early early 80s, 90s, we had many more performers and now it's more like visual artists and maybe even digital artists. So I think you're right. I think that the lack of those immersive experiences and opportunities are just gonna be there. Yeah.
And the Connie asked a question about Los Angeles artists. I'm kind of biased because I grew up in that kind of part of the world. But the Pachucos from El Paso, there was a lot of history I left out. The progression of Pachucos, Zoot suitors to Cholo. Uh, so there's a traveling from El Paso through Arizona and to California. But yeah, there's a lot left out. We did see people from San Francisco, like Jose Montoya is from the San Francisco area. Uh, Guillermo Gomez Peña is from Mexico. I don't remember if he's Chilango or not. He might be from Mexico City, if I remember correctly. Um, David Avalos was from San Diego. But you're right. I did focus a lot on these artists, but some of the newer artists, they went to school like Cal Arts and Art Center, but some of them went to RISD. Some of them were working in Chicago, like I think it was Raimundo who was doing murals in Chicago. So I try to cover everything, but yeah, you're right. I did focus a lot on Los Angeles and California. I think it's because I'm biased.
Sure. The reason I was asking was just since I grew up in Houston, I mean, maybe I just wasn't aware of the Chicano art there, but I'm interested in the history, like if there's much in that area, just geographically, or
Mhm.
even more towards San Antonio. And I don't know.
I,
I'm on the
I,
East Coast, so
I,
I'm not around it these days.
I will tell you that even in Oklahoma, there is a Chicano movement, but I will say, like, remember I was talking about the Latinx and that term, and I think a lot of the current generation, I want to say either, I guess it's Generation Z, I think maybe. Um, I think they grew up with this term that, and it's normal for them to use Latinx, and it means something else to them. It's not an outsider term like I think it is. To them, that's the term, and I think it's because there is no class on Chicano art. The class that I took was in California, and that's where I met Jose Montoya personally. He was a guest speaker in that class, but those those kind of that kind of history people don't know. So the work that you see in places like Houston, San Antonio, and Oklahoma City uh, still go back to those themes of UFW, Aztec, all from the 80s and 70s. But they're kind of, I don't want to use the word stuck, but they're there in that kind of nostalgia kind of approach to what Chicano means. And that imagery gets recycled every couple of years. Imagery of La Virgen de Guadalupe. There's artists that I didn't show because I didn't want to offend any religious people, and it was controversial at the time. Less controversial now, but Chicana artists putting themselves in the role of the Virgen. Very famous art pieces. I think Yolanda Torres might be her name, if I remember correctly. Uh, and Amelia Mesa Baines, she did altars. I think she also won the MacArthur Grant, if I Genius Award, if I remember correctly. But she did altars. I didn't put those in. Like again, I felt like I didn't want to offend anybody, even though I've done work like that, referencing religious things. I just didn't want to get into it. Guillermo Gomez Peña crucified himself on the border. He did a literally performance piece where he's on a cross and he's like crucified on the border. Uh, so very strong political. But I think parte is I grew up in Mexico. I think I have the perfect Chicano credentials. My dad was from El Paso. My mom was from Ciudad Juarez in Chihuahua, and they met in Los Angeles. But I grew up in Tijuana. I have like probably the most Chicano credentials than anybody. Um, my dad was a Zoot suiter in the 40s, so I got that in my background. My dad refused to have me take on the cholo aesthetic, even though I loved it. He threatened me, don't ever start dressing like that, or don't bring a girlfriend like that to this house. Um, so I never got to be part of that culture. But even though I was in love with that culture, um, the you see it now all over TikTok. People doing quinceañeras as like a chola quinceañera. I don't know if you guys seen it. Uh, it's coming back, but it doesn't have that kind of uh, gangster kind of edge to it. It's more of a borrowed aesthetic. So you see people dressed like cholos, but they're not really that part of that lifestyle. Looks like Dakota has a question. Let's see. Regards to symbolism in different cultures, how do you think we as different people from so far apart are able to attribute similar meanings to similar things like the Mexican eagle, something that the Roman eagle? Oh, yes. Yep. Cross-cultural and similar iconography of eagles, crosses, Christian, Spanish, indigenous. Uh, I'm not a philosopher, even though I would love to be. I like to pretend I'm a philosopher sometimes. Uh, I have certainly my opinions. It does not involve UFOs, but I think the world, the civilization is not as old as people think it is. I think there's a lot of history that's buried, and I think there was a time where there was one people, Pangea, one landmass before the Earth separated by tectonic plates. And I think there was a shared philosophy, shared spiritual uh, symbolism, similar stories. The flood stories all over the world. How do we explain that? Um, Olmec, the Olmec sculptures, for a long time that people thought those were African American features. That theory doesn't hold water anymore. But while growing up, we saw, oh wow, Pangea, look how it's connected here, Mexico and Africa, and the origin of the Olmecs and the Los Toltecas we thought were from Africa, and maybe we are. Who knows? The Australian Aborigines have a very interesting origin story. Not all of them share the same one, but where they came from. Um, some people believe that's the true origin of people is Australia. Para mi gente in Australia, the Aborigine. Um, I'll close with this. If there's no more questions, I took a Mexican flag to Australia. I was there. I lived there for 4 months, and I gave the Mexican flag to an Aborigine family that I met, and he gave me the Aborigine flag, which is a black sky, red earth, and the yellow sun. Um, and I explained to him the symbolism of the Mexican flag, how it was indigenous. The eagle that's part of the Mexican flag is an indigenous symbol of the Aztecs, and how this vision was was found in Mexico City, and this is where the Mexica, right, the Aztecs settled Mexico City, where they saw this vision. He loved that story. Oh my God. And I didn't know that there was an eagle in Australia. He gave me a couple eagle feathers. Uh, and that eagle, the Australian eagle, is very similar to the eagle for the Mexican flag, as far as the features. So, Dakota, thank you for that question. It makes me think about a lot of the origin of man and Pangea, and how we can have uh, animals in different continents separated by huge oceans, and it's the same animal. Maybe it was like all the land masses together, and then it got separated. Maybe it wasn't thousands of years that they separated. Maybe it was much faster. Who knows? Great question. Oh, Blaze. Oh, yeah, I answered that question already. Muchas gracias para toda la gente que vinieron a esta plática. Thank you for coming. It really warms my heart, OVAC y la gente de Zacatecas. I did the DNA thing from one of those companies, and they said that my people came from Zacatecas, Chihuahua and Zacatecas. According to this DNA company, that's where I'm from. I'm 49% indigenous from Chihuahua, Zacatecas. Isn't that amazing?
Yes, it
49%,
is.
that's big. Gracias a todos. Te amo. I love you guys. Thank you so much. Thank you for my students for coming. You
Mhm.
warm my heart. Gracias a toda la gente en México. Gracias, Fernando, Ovac, todos. Y aquí están los libros. I don't know if you guys saw me do this, or the libros that I use. Los Chicanos in the Cara catalog. This was updated in 91. This is the updated one that I have, 91. I don't know if they've updated it since 91, but you can find this on Internet Archive as a PDF, so you guys can research it. Thank you so much, everybody. Fernando?
Okay, no. Thank you. Thank you for being here, for being amazing, and for this amazing exhibition or class. And a todos, vamos a dejar todos los links con las bibliografías, con los videos que Narciso puso en la presentación para que puedan consultarlos y también para invitarlos a que vean todas las clases pasadas, las otras 5 sesiones que tuvimos durante este webinar de dos culturas. Van a estar en nuestro canal de YouTube. Voy a mandarles un correo con los links para que puedan ver nuestro canal de YouTube, las clases anteriores. Todas las clases son en español, pero YouTube tiene la capacidad de subtitularlas a inglés. So all of the classes are in Spanish, but YouTube has the ability to subtitle or to add subtitles to the classes in English. So I'm gonna invite you guys to go to our YouTube channel. I'm gonna send you an email with all of the links, and thank you so much for being here, for supporting us. This is the first time that OVAC does a programming 100% in Spanish, and again, the goal for this program was to make connections and learn more about the Mexican culture. So thank you so much. Thank you, Narciso, and I'll see you soon.